The next topic where we'll continue to discuss about the next type of protocol, that is internet key exchange protocol. So this internet key exchange protocol, the main goal of this protocol is to establish the security association between the two parties which actually wish to communicate. Okay, so what is this security association? So in the previous class I had explained you. So when I say security association, so this is uniquely identified by a 32-bit security parameter index, and it contains the information like lifetime of the association, IPsec mode, whether it relies on transport mode or tunnel mode, and then it also includes like cryptographic parameters and 32-bit sequence number, and also the anti-replay window. So now for today's class I'll be explaining about the internet key exchange protocol. So this internet key exchange protocol, in short we call it as IKE protocol. So this protocol is used to establish the security association which we discussed in the previous class between two parties which actually wish to communicate securely. Okay, and this IPsec protocol, it actually works in network layer. Okay, which is a network layer protocol, which IPsec, which I discussed in the previous class. Okay, that is internet protocol security. Okay, security provided to the internet protocol, so that itself in turn is a protocol, so which is, in short, it is called as IPsec protocol. So that is implemented in network layer. It is a network layer protocol, whereas this IKE, internet key exchange protocol, it is application layer protocol. Okay, and this IKE, it borrows it borrows its features from two major sources. One is the internet security association and key management protocol. These two will actually provide the service to the internet key exchange protocol. One is the internet security association, okay, and the other one is key management protocol. So they'll actually, what these two does is they'll define formats for various entities such as digital signatures, digital certificate. For all this they actually define formats, and they are backbone for this IKE. Okay, one is internet security association, that is internet security association and key management protocol. So because as you all know, when it comes to IPsec for, and also if you just observe in security association, we have cryptographic field as well. So in that cryptographic field, what it actually contains, it will actually contain the it actually contains the key generation. So all these things are actually taken care by this internet security association and key management protocol. So this is actually the backbone for the internet key exchange. So this internet key exchange, it is comprised of two phases. So in the first phase, it is all about the establishment of security association, and in the second phase, the key the session key will be generated, and that in turn will be used for exchanging the information between the two parties. Okay, so two phases. First phase is the establishment of security association, and whatever the phase one long-term keys are derived, and in phase two, short-term keys are derived for use between the two parties, for the two parties to continue their exchange of messages or communication. They'll in phase two, short-term keys will be, I mean to say, the session key will be derived. Okay, and also like the key agreements here, they make use of Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. Okay, since IKE is designed to withstand the IKE, it is actually designed to withstand the denial of service attack. Okay, so if you know that in Diffie-Hellman key exchange, it is the main advantage, or the unique feature, or not unique, a special feature of Diffie-Hellman key exchange is the modular exponentiation. Okay, so many times it ends up with the denial of service attack, because the attackers make the server so busy that until the what discrete logarithm is breaked, they until it is attacked completely, for the server to stop its service, this attacker will end up with denial of service attack. So to handle all such situations, so I mean to say the internet key exchange is designed to withstand these types of attacks, while at the same time offering a menu of different cryptographic algorithms and authentication methods. Okay, so to still I have to use Diffie-Hellman. Diffie-Hellman should be used, and also this denial of service attack should be stopped. Okay, so for this purpose, this IKE make use of cookies. Okay, so what is this cookie is? So to prevent denial of service attack and to continue to use the Diffie-Hellman, IKE makes extensive use of cookies. So one cookie will be created by initiator A and another by the responder B. So now definitely you will have a question, what is this cookie? Okay, so cookie value will be computed by A, say for example by A, and it is mandatory for even B to compute the cookie, and this cookie will be of 64-bit integer. Okay, so in the phase 1 of IKE, it uses Diffie-Hellman key exchange, which involves computationally intense modular exponentiation operation. So that is what I said, to continue to use Diffie-Hellman and to prevent denial of service attack, this IKE will make use of cookies, and these cookies are of 64-bit integers, and even this cookie should be created by the initiator A and the responder B, both have to. So what is this cookie? So this is it is a value that has been computed by A, for example, and it is a hash function of many variables like address of A, temporary secret known only to B, and sometimes possibly the time as well. Okay, and also you can include the challenge into this list. Okay, so A is required to send this cookie to B in all subsequent messages. So in each and every exchange of messages that takes place between A and B, there'll be this cookie will be there. Okay, so this hash value will be associated to it. And now comes a question, ma'am, how did you prevent from denial of service attack? See, the purpose of generating this cookie value is to make the attacker frustrate. Okay, so to frustrate like denial of service attack that has been performed by the attacker, his mind is diverted in computing this cookie. So they'll be frustrated computing this cookie because they don't know what is the combination being used. The IP address of A will be used, temporary secret known. So here the attacker has to put his effort to know what are the different fields that are actually incorporated to generate this cookie. As I said, in some of the examples they'll also add the challenge that has been generated. So people end up with different combination of elements for generating this cookie. I mean to say the hash value, and that hash value is now termed as cookie. And as I already said, so in each and every conversation that takes place between A and B, this cookie will be added. Okay, so this cookie corresponds to A's IP address, and if the check fails, B will abort the session establishment. So whenever the hash functions will not actually match, immediately the session establishment, whatever the session was established, it will be aborted. Okay, so now the internet key exchange, the phase 1. So in the phase 1, as you all know, the Diffie-Hellman key exchange will actually happen. Okay, so this key, I mean to say the Diffie-Hellman key exchange, that procedure actually happens using 6 message conversation, or else it can also happen in 3 message conversation. So if you are relying in this method where in total 6 messages will be exchanged for this phase 1, So such a method is called as main method. Okay, main mode, or yeah, it is called as main mode. And if you are performing the same task by using 3 message exchange, then it is called as aggressive mode. Okay, so there are 2 modes, so I've just missed here, please make a note of it. So this is main mode, and this is the aggressive mode. And in the phase 2, what exactly happens, we'll see later. So first let me just explain you what is this phase 1. So this is a pre-shared key, and the same key can also be exchanged using the private signature key concept, or the private decryption key concept. Okay, so there are different ways, the same 6 messages, but in a different ways. As you all know, we have secret key cryptography, we have public key cryptography. All these concepts can be brought together, and a new thing could be explored each time when it comes to the cryptography concepts. Okay, so what exactly is happening here is, as I said, the very much purpose of this internet key exchange is the security association, establishment of security association. So here this A, what the initiator. So this initiator, what it does is it will generate a cookie. So see here, it stands for cookie. So the cookie of A, so hash value with all the fields specified. So hash value will be generated. Along with that, it will also have a security association with all the fields which I explained in the previous class. So it will contain all these many fields within it: lifetime, IPsec mode, cryptographic parameters, 32-bit sequence number, and anti-replay window. All these fields will be filled up, and the same will be conveyed to B. So the responder will receive, on receiving it, even it will, as I said in the previous class, security association is not the responsibility of only one party. Both the parties have to establish the security association. So again, this person B will also generate a security association and of B, and the same, the cookie of A will be conveyed with the same, and also the hash value of B. So now, as I specified previously, the cookies will be part of your message that actually gets exchanged, because each time they will be compared. Okay, so along with this Diffie-Hellman key exchange, if you remember, we have to send what? A partial key, so G to the power of A, and also a random number is generated here, and the same is conveyed to B. So on receiving this, again the certificates for A and B, the cookie of A and B, and G to the power of B, that is a partial key from B, and a challenge. Okay, so now in response, since now both A and B have sent their exchanged their partial keys, now the actual session key will be generated on both the ends. So that key is used to encrypt the identity of A, and the message authentication code will be generated by A, and the same will be conveyed to B. So on receiving, it will decrypt this message, and now B will send its identity along with the cookies, and also the message authentication code that is being generated by B. So this will the message authentication code will be generated for the IP address of A when it comes to this, and here the IP address of B when it comes to here. Okay, so the same thing can also happen with the help of signature. So signature, private signature, up to this point it is the same as before, and the last 2 messages, if you can observe here, we have the digital signature and also the certificate concept. Okay, so the certificate of A will be sent, and also the signature digitally signed value will also be sent. The same thing will be responded in turn by B. Okay, so when it comes to the private decryption key concept, so here it is not like here you can just see the partial keys are actually sent directly. Okay, but in this private decryption key method, what we have here, you can just see the hash value for the randomly generated value and for the cookies. So that will be treated as KA. Okay, so using that key, I'll be encrypting the partial key along with this double hash is concatenation. Okay, so when I had explained you about message authentication code, if you remember, I had written a diagram there. So what is this is, along with this partial key, even this identity of A, so both together will be encrypted. Okay, so the same explanation holds good even here. So here they'll use the key to encrypt the partial keys that they are sending. Okay, so which key they'll make use of, or how that key is being generated, is nothing but the hash value for the random number generated and the cookie. Okay, and their respective cookies. So they'll make use of that. And how do they get this random numbers generated? So the random numbers will be also conveyed to the responder. Say A is the initiator, is it? The initiator A will convey that to B by encrypting that nouns or the challenge using the public key of B, so that you can use this private key and decrypt it. So to encrypt the partial key, they'll make use of this hash values. Okay, so this is how they'll take care of the security is enhanced when it comes to private key, private decryption key. Okay, so these are the three different ways and 6 different messages that is actually exchanged. So this is the main mode. In the aggressive mode, again the three concepts we have. So pre-shared keys, the keys are already shared. That concept actually they rely on. And as you can see here, the cookie will be generated, the security association, the partial key, and the challenge and the identity of A. All these elements are sent in one single message to B. In response, B will send the cookie of A, cookie of B, security association of B, partial key of B, the random number generated by B, its identity, and along with that a message authentication code that is being generated by B. So in response, this initiator will send the cookie of A, cookie of B, and the message authentication code that is being generated by B. Okay, so now in private signature key, we have an added field here, that is digitally signed. So the things will be digitally signed, and also the certificate will also be conveyed. Okay, so you can just add up your answer with all the previous concepts. So when it comes to certificate, so certificate authority will be there, its public key will be known to B, so that is used to know the public key of A, and that is in turn used to know the content that is present in the the signed document of A. So all these supporting statements you can just add up when you're writing your answers. Okay, so when it comes to the decryption key, as I already specified, this KA and this KB are nothing but the hash values for which is generated for the combination of the random number generated by A and the cookie of A. The same explanation for B as well. Okay, and that is what this KA means, and this public key, and this K is the session key that is actually generated. Okay, so by this time B will have his partial key, and also it is receiving partial key of A. Soon it can generate a session key. So using that session key, it will encrypt the message authentication code that has been generated by A. Okay, so now for in response to this, here after receiving the partial key of B, now the session key will be generated, and using that it will decrypt the content, and then the message authentication code for B will be generated, and the same will be conveyed to B. Okay, so that happens in the aggressive mode. So what exactly happened in phase 1 is the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Now in the phase 2, using the session keys, they can just establish, I mean to say the communication gets established, and now this session key, actually the session key generation, whatever we were speaking, that happens in the phase 2. So the same thing has been again summarized here. So here we'll the added points are MID. MID is message identifier. Okay, and that is one point that you are supposed to know about. So in phase 2, under the cover of existing Internet Key Exchange Security Association, two parties participate in Internet Key Exchange phase 2 exchange in order to establish a new IPsec Security Association. So either party can initiate this phase, in which the cipher suit and the keys that comprise the new IPsec Security Association are agreed upon. Okay, so this is called, this can in turn be called as quick mode. Okay, so this is also called as quick mode. All messages are encrypted using the key E computed in previous phase. So this you can also make use of the key KE, okay, which is not actually specified in the figure here, not shown in the figure, but you can just make use of that key as well. So message integrity and data source authentication is provided by using HMAC. The key for HMAC is key with suffix A. Okay, so even this is also computed in phase 1 itself. Next is this MID. So MID is a 32-bit message ID. So in short we call it as MID. Is used to distinguish this phase 2 session from possibly others that may be set up concurrently with in the same IKE Security Association. Okay, so along with this MIT together with two cookies created in phase 1. So these cookies are actually created in phase 1. CA and CB are dispatched as part of each the three messages. That is, in all the three messages you can just see the CA, CB and the message ID, and this message ID is 32-bit data. Okay, so to guarantee the freshness, both sides also generate a transmit nouns NA and NB. So again this previously we were specifying it as RA, RB, the challenge or nouns. So now it has been termed as NA and NB. Okay, these are nouns. That is nothing but the challenge. In addition to the agreement on a cryptographic suit, the purpose of this phase is to agree on the secrets to be used for authentication as a part of IPsec Security Association. So these secrets are computed simultaneously by both the sides and are functions of the key D computed in phase 1 and nouns K, NA and NB exchanged in this phase. Okay, so and also you can just see if in addition perfect forward secrecy is required, then both sides also perform Diffie-Hellman key exchange in this phase as well, and partial secrets are abbreviated as G to the power of X and G to the power of Y. Okay, and finally in both the sides they compute G to the power of XY. So in this phase 2, the Diffie-Hellman key exchange that happened in phase 1 for the authentication purpose is now again continued, and now a new IPsec Security Association will actually get established between these two parties in Internet Key Exchange phase 2. Okay, so this is all about IKE, Internet Key Exchange, and finally we have two more final topics to discuss. It is security policy and IPsec. So this security policy actually will actually maintain a security policy database. Okay. See, the purpose of having this database is to authenticate all web traffic to IP address. Okay, so whatever the IP address we have specified, we have to authenticate all the traffics that comes up to that IP address. So for that purpose, this security policy database is used to determine whether a packet sent or received whether it should be passed through a security, or the packet can simply bypass it, or simply it has to be dropped. All these things will be taken care by this security policy database. Okay, so basically it is to authenticate all the web traffic for any of the specified IP address. Okay, so these fields are actually called as selectors. So that includes destination IP address, the type of transport layer protocol that is being used, and the type of applications. Okay, so the output of this lookup indicates whether security should be applied. That is what I specified here, whether to pass through, whether the packet should simply pass through a security, or can just bypass the security, or should I simply drop it. So how do I decide? So for that I'll be relying on all these details. The destination IP address, I'll look into the type of transport layer protocol it is actually making use of, and also one added point of IKE is, that is about the previous topic, it is a UDP protocol, okay, connectionless protocol it is, okay, that I forgot to mention then, and here I saw this and then I decided to tell you. And next, the type of transport layer protocol that this packet is relying on, and the type of application it is. So by transport selectors are used to index into the security policy database. So depending on that, or this is how the security policy will actually support the IPsec. So if an SA does not exist or it has expired, then IKE protocol is used to establish an security association between the sender and receiver. Okay, so if the security association that was actually established before, if it has been expired, so again this IKE protocol can be used. See, the phase 1 and phase 2 of IKE, what I specified. So in IKE 1, a long-term key will be established. Okay, you will definitely have a question by this time. Ma'am, in both the cases you can see we have Diffie element key exchange concept, all these there. Then why should I go for phase 1 and phase 2? Why phase 1 and phase 2? See, please try to understand. In phase 1, long term key is generated, whereas in phase 2, short term key is established. Okay, so long term key is, see, phase 1 we need not perform in all the communication. I'll just brief you up what exactly happens. So if two parties A and B are communicating for the first time, then the security association has to get established between these two. Okay, so the security association might have got established for a time period of 6 months, say, suppose, for example. Okay, so first time the establishment takes place, phase 2 also happens, and a new session key will get generated by then, and that is used for their communication. Say they communicate for a period of 1 month, and for certain reasons they stop they stop communicating. So again, if they want to start their communication after 1 or 2 months, okay, so then what they'll do is they'll not perform the phase 1 again. The phase 2 is directly performed, because the security association for a long term key, it has already been generated, and the same will be stored in both the ends. So they'll just rely on that, and again they'll start their process by phase 2. Okay, that is the difference between phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 key, whatever that has been generated, it is a long term key, and the key whatever that gets generated in phase 2, it is a short term key or a session key. Okay, I guess I've made it clear for you guys. So now the same thing what I want to specify here, if SA does not exist or has expired, so because every time they end up with phase 2, unknowingly, if they have done or performed phase 2, and if their security association has been expired, so then again the IKE will take care of, IKE protocol will take care of it, and it will establish the communication between, the security association between the sender and receiver. Okay, and final, then last topic is virtual private networks. So virtual private networks, as the name itself it specifies, so it is a virtual one, so which actually does not exist in real. Okay, so this enables or it will give you a feel that you are actually making use of a private network. So something like that. Okay, so the virtual private networks, it enables the organization to communicate securely over a public shared network, just as internet. Okay, so a VPN will be established, and we'll just get just a feel that as we are actually communicating in broadband, but actually the network is established just within a organization. Okay, so that can happen one site to site, or the there are two types. One is site to site, and the remote access virtual private networks. So a secure VPN uses cryptographic techniques to provide not just the confidentiality, but also the authentication and message integrity. So in a trusted VPN, customer traffic is not usually encrypted. Service provider has to guarantee confidentiality of traffic. The two most widely used VPNs is site to site, and the other one is missed here. It is remote access virtual private networks. Okay, so site to site are used to link multiple offices of an organization, known as intranet. And site to site VPN may also be used to secure an extra network connecting multiple business parties. And there's nothing much to discuss about the remote access virtual private networks. So it is just to connect to teleworkers. Okay, mobile users or users from phone to their office. So teleworkers can be an example for remote access virtual private networks. And both site to site and remote access virtual private networks, they often